Hello, everybody. Welcome into Yogi's After the Game with Todd Leary. We're coming to you, of course, live from Yogi's here in Bloomington, Indiana. Unfortunately, a loss by the Hoosiers today, 66-44 to Texas in round two of the Maui Invitational that's taking place in Asheville, North Carolina. Todd Leary, of course, sitting in here after the show with Todd Leary. Todd, yesterday, a great game by the Hoosiers, but not a team that was very formidable. Today, we got to see a very good indication of what to expect through the Big Ten season because this Texas team loaded. They had everybody back. This is not just a middle-of-the-road Texas team. They had everybody back, and, man, did they look good. But Indiana sure paid the price.
Yeah, I mean, Indiana made them look pretty good. And when you are struggling that bad offensively, you're going to make the other team's defense look good, and you're going to give them plenty of fast break opportunities. And as thrilling and I think good as I felt about Indiana yesterday, boy, this is very similar to the way we looked at things last year after some Big Ten games, and this is a difficult performance to swallow right now because I think we had such high expectations about how the offense would be different with the incoming freshmen, and it doesn't look a whole lot different.
The incoming freshmen have been impactful. We've seen that. Whenever they're in, there's energy. They're trying. They're working hard. Anthony Leal hasn't gotten a lot of minutes yet. The other three playing a little bit more, and specifically, it's been more Christian Lander and Trey Galloway. Today, neither of those guys had any impact. Let's see, Galloway had 2 points. Geronimo had 0 points. Lander had 0 points, and Leal 0 points. Not a lot of impact on that end, but more importantly, there's no one else that's making an impact. We don't have, there's not a lot of upperclassmen to fill in the blanks. And when you've got Joey Brunk sitting on the bench, you got Trace Jackson Davis, who's a younger guy, but you're running out of, there's not a lot of people, not a lot of bodies to run in there.
Yeah, there's not a lot of offensive efficiency to put in there. And that's what I think everyone was expecting out of this freshman class. And I mean, you just read a whole bunch of zeros for guys that I think we were expecting to be, if not the leading scorers, right behind Trace Jackson Davis and pushing him for, I don't know that we expected Lander to come in and average 20 plus, but I do think we expected him to come in and average 10. And I think we expected similar out of Galloway and, 6 or 8 out of Leal and Geronimo. I mean, I expected all of them to contribute. So that's a little bit disappointing that they've not, that they're not living up to my expectations for sure. And I'm sure I have the same as a lot of Indiana fans when it comes to that situation. So, this is frustrating. This is not one I think you just look at and go, oh, it's early in the year and we'll get better. I didn't see. This is 3 games into it. I haven't seen signs of an offensive outburst coming from guys. I think guys look extremely uncomfortable on the offensive end. Defensively, still think they look pretty good. I think they look pretty comfortable. This was an ugly game to start out with, and Indiana very easily, with some good offense, could have had a 10-plus point lead. And obviously this is a different game at that point, but they just couldn't score. And I'm not telling you anything that wasn't obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I've been as tough on Archie Miller as anybody has been, and I think, but with good reason. And you look at today, and I'm like, okay, we're 4 years in. Somebody please show me how this looks different today than it did yesterday or last week or last month, except for not better. It does not. I'm not seeing improvement. I'm not seeing player development, and you're having recruiting issues already. I don't think this is a great sign for your year to start this way, especially going into a conference that is going to be as tough as any conference in the country, full of guys that are veterans, and you've got a team that is led by your best player as a sophomore, and you've got a pack of freshmen coming in year 4. Not the strongest representation, I think, that on the floor for Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of my biggest, I want to say, issue or frustration is just that I'm not seeing the signs of them being, able to come out and score a bunch of points. Like it's not back in the old Princeton days where you can, play a solid defense and hold the ball and win a game, 48-44. Like it's not that way anymore. I mean, you're going to play
11
teams.
to 46.
Yeah,
11 to 46.
Well, I think this is what they say. 46 points was the lowest amount Indiana had in the last 10 years, and they just put up 44.
Really. 44 points is the lowest amount of point total, and I think this is also, without doubt, question, the lowest free throw shooting percentage. They shoot 23.9%. 23.9 for the game.
Well,
they usually shoot better from that from 3-point.
Well, they didn't. They only shot 20 from 3 points. but I mean, you can look at this. I have heard coaches say this for a long time, and I'm a shooter shoot. Okay. I've always been an offensive guy. I've always, felt like I thought me shooting the ball was the better option than anyone else shooting the ball. And that's what you want everyone to think. Bailey thought the same thing. Calvert thought the same thing. Pat Graham thought the same thing. Brian Evans thought the same thing. Like, we all thought us shooting the ball was the best option that there was. I don't know that who would you point at on this team and say that guy thinks he's the best scorer on the floor? Christian Lander? I think he thinks that. He hasn't proved it yet, but I think he thinks that. And I don't that. You can't say it about anyone else. Like no one else looks like they're confident and feels like they should be the leading scorer and taking the most shots on the team. They all look like they're trying to be a good teammate. And you know what? Being a good teammate right now is proven that you can carry this team offensively, and we're not seeing it out of these guys. And so this is why I tell you, on our daily show, I used to say to you all the time, like, I don't care about what someone is ranked, because I see guys ranked in the top 25 of every single class that absolutely cannot score the basketball. And you can't play anymore at this level of basketball when you can't score. And unfortunately, we are seeing an awful lot of guys getting recruited that fall into that category. And we thought this was going to be the freshman class. And look, I want to make sure that I say this because I'm frustrated. Indiana fans are frustrated. I hope that we're all in the same boat with that. And we're still going to be Indiana fans tonight and tomorrow and next week. But I feel like I'm allowed to be a little bit frustrated with these guys. I still think that they have the capability. I don't think it's getting drawn out of them right now. I think the freshman class has the ability to score the ball. Lander, Galloway, Leal, Geronimo all have the ability to score the basketball. They need to figure out a way to get them on the floor and drag it out of them because they're the only ones capable of doing it, in my opinion.
Sounds kind of a familiar thing we've been saying for a few years there, maybe 3 or exactly 4. But anyway, as we move forward now, Indiana has got to pick up the pieces from this. They've got to go forward. I don't know if you learn from this, but they've got to pick up and learn from it, regardless whether they want to or not. You've got to get better. They were exposed today in so many ways. Now, again, Texas is not some run-of-the-mill team. This is the team that had everybody back. I read a stat on the show today that's absolutely crazy. They had 100% of their scoring, rebounding, assist, everything. They had 100% back. That's nuts. It's only the D1 school that has that. So they're really solid. Let's don't act like that they're playing the Sisters of the Poor here. But Indiana looked like the Sisters of the Poor today. I'll be honest with you. They didn't even put up a fight. Texas did not have a fight from Indiana, I didn't think.
Well, I mean, Davidson took them to the wire yesterday, and Davidson's not a team that I think you would say is a world beater. And to be honest with you, that's a great stat. Texas has 100% of their scoring coming back. I saw that. It is pretty incredible. You rarely ever see that. But they're not that great. Like they're good. They're decent. They're not that great. I mean, they're okay. They just Indiana. You're right. The weakness was exposed again. And that is the lack of ability to score the basketball. And I don't, if this was an anomaly and I thought it wasn't going to happen again, believe me, I'd be the first one to say, hey, let's sweep this one under the rug. They'll recover from this and things will be fine. I don't feel that way. I think that we're going to have this conversation after games, unfortunately, multiple times this year. And that's a frustrating – yeah, that's a frustrating position to be in. I mean, this is honestly, like, I know Devontae had his weaknesses and he got crazy out of control, but you know what? He had the ability to throw 20 on somebody on any given night. And which guy on this team right now would you say, I'm not going to say would do it consistently. We want someone to average 12 points and be consistent doing it rather than score 20 and then 0 and then 20 and then 0. I am fully on board with that. But I don't even know anyone on this team that I have seen so far in 3 games that shows the capability of throwing 20 up. Trace Jackson Davis is a diesel engine. He's going to improve and get better. He's had a rough start to the season, but he's going to be consistent, and we're going to be able to count on 15 points and 10 rebounds out of him. But show me an offensive guy besides him that we're going to count on for 15 plus points a night throughout this season. I don't see it.
Well, we bragged a lot on Race Thompson yesterday. He had the double-double, career day for him, career high in points. Just looked great out there. He hustled. He worked hard. He was active. And then today he follows that up with 4 points on 1 of 5 shooting. He was 0 from 1. Why he thought a three-point shot, I have no idea, but I saw him shoot that. 2 of 4 at the free throw line. But just a complete opposite day for him today. Just not a lot of production underneath in the paint. And when Trace Jackson Davis, even if he is working, he's got to have help down there. He cannot do this alone, and there was nobody else. Jerome Hunter nor Race was a factor in the paint today.
Nope. I mean, you're exactly right. The only thing I will disagree with you on is I will tell you right now, I'm not any less it's not the Justin Smith situation for me when Race Thompson shoots a 3. I think he's capable of shooting it. He has good form. I think if he just gains some confidence in shooting it, he'll be the second or third most likely guy to make a 3-pointer, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the time and the place when he did it. I'm like, why are you shooting that now? Why?
It seemed forced. I agree with you, but I think everybody was just, grasping at straws, trying to figure out, how to get something jump started. And when you look at where the stats were, I mean, they finished the game shooting 24% and, just under 24%. And that's as high as it was in the second half. And that's a terrible, terrible stat. We should be disappointed. I know the coaches are disappointed. I know the players are disappointed. What I'm the most, I guess, have lack of confidence in is that I don't know that this is the anomaly. I don't know that this is a rare instance. I have a feeling might be more of the, more of a regular occurrence for this team. And I just don't know where the scoring comes from. I honestly think it's going to have to come from Christian Lander and Trey Galloway. I think those are going to have to be the guys that average right around 10 points. Look, yesterday out of Race Thompson, that was a career high day for him in a couple categories. But look, we don't expect that from him. We expect 10 and 10. If he gets 10 and 10, that is all you can want out of that position. You've got to have some guard play. You can even the moronic Bill Walton made the statement and said these guys Indiana can't win if their guard play is not better than it is. That's probably the only real basketball statement that he's made so far this season. And he gets off on these tangents, and I'll be honest with you, his tangents today didn't bother me because the play was so bad. I would actually pay attention to some of the things he was saying because Indiana's play was that poor.
And like you keep pointing out, where do they turn to? Because last year you had Devontae, and he was inconsistent, but he was there. There is nobody there, inconsistent or not, right now that you can expect to get a bloom out of. Trace Jackson Davis, like you said, you're going to have to get his points, but somebody is going to have that pop, the ability to have that pop. Actually, you need a couple guys because you're not going to get it from the same guy. So you need a couple of guys that have the ability to be able to go off every couple of games. And you're right. I have no idea who that's going to be because no one is wanting to step up. Today, everyone played timid. They almost seemed afraid. I don't want to say afraid, but I just did not see a lot of aggressiveness. I didn't see.
Well, did you
win?
Did you not think that like every loose rebound, every 50-50 rebound went to Texas? Like they out-rebounded them 48-29. Like you got out-rebounded by 20 as a Big Ten team. And the Big Ten has this, it's supposed to be known as a real physical conference. What do you think Texas thinks of Indiana right now? How physical do you think they think the Big Ten is right now? Because supposedly Indiana pushed Providence around yesterday, and it was it was a Big Ten performance, and they battled, and they showed them what it was like to play in the Big Ten. Well, what do you think Texas thinks of that? Because 48-29, when's the last time Indiana got out rebounded by 20 in a game? I mean, that's domination.
Yeah, and not only the points, you have to have points. Rebounding, you point out the rebounding right here. If you're not going to have your guys in the middle, you can't be giving up rebounds if you're not hitting the shots. That's not a good combination to miss shots and fail and be a poor rebounding team. You're going to lose a lot of ball games.
Well, you've got to be able to, even if you can't score, okay, you can control the boards. Here's my point with that. It's not that I don't think Indiana wasn't trying and all that. I thought Texas looked more confident, more athletic, more physical. I thought just about every aspect you can think of to be dominated in, I think Texas took it to them. And, this is the kind of game when you look at the inside guys for Texas are good. They're above average. They're not great. They're not the best interior guys in the country. And they just I love our team. I love our guys. I love Trace Jackson Davis. I love Jerome Hunter. I love Race Thompson. But you got to call it the way that it is. And they got dominated tonight. And you talk about Trace Jackson Davis, being a one and done, and we're happy he came back for a second year. He looked like a 4-year guy today, and an average 4-year guy today.
And it wasn't because of lack of ability or any of that. He looked young to me today. He looked
out of his league. He looked like the guys he was playing against were really, really good, and they weren't. They were above average. Like there's a lot better interior players across the country than what we just witnessed. Look, they'll probably end up playing.
You think of Illinois and Iowa, what you're going to be facing in the Big Ten.
They'll probably end up playing North Carolina tomorrow. Texas will, and we'll see if they dominate the boards 48-29 against Texas. Against North Carolina.
Trying to read some of these comments. Didn't even know we could see them now. But Mike says, until we can get Hunter, Franklin, and Finney to start knocking down perimeter shots, they're going to struggle. The thing is, I don't know that you're going to get them to do that. They haven't done it. Those guys have been here. They didn't just get to campus. This is not something that they've done before. They've never done it. This team has never done it. Here's never done it.
And here's my response to that. And I'm not trying to be, Nancy negative here, but Jerome Hunter is a scorer. He's a guy I do expect that from. Mike, I agree with that comment in that I expect Jerome Hunter to be a scorer and a better shooter. Rob Finney has never been a shooter. He wasn't a shooter in high school. He's not a shooter at Indiana. Armand Franklin was not a shooter in high school. He's not a shooter at Indiana. I don't expect that out of them. I expect good play out of them. I expect them to handle the ball and play good defense and get the ball where it needs to go. And those things, I do expect them to play well, but I sure as heck don't expect them to shoot and score because they're not shooters. They're not guys who are capable on a consistent, regular basis of knocking down shots. They've never have been. So why would I think they are now?
Cheryl's got a comment here, and it's not so much of what her comment is. It's reminding me of something else. She says, I wish Race or someone would step up and have the confidence. There's talent there. They have to dig down deep. Well, there's a lot to that right there. He shows flashes of it, but it was something Bill Walton, your buddy Bill Walton again said. And when you're on this stage, you have to leave it on the court every time. You have to play at the highest level. And he was being kind of Bill Walton, but he was actually telling the truth too. And he's talking about elite teams. When you're in elite teams, elite players play at an elite level. And I am not seeing anything close to that from this team. It's like they're half in and half out. And I'm like, do you all not realize this is Division I Big Ten basketball, right? It's not. It's like it hasn't dawned on them yet the level of play of which they're stepping into.
Well, they've played 6 halves of basketball so far this year, and if you were giving an overall grade, and you could break it down by each half, you could break it down by game, or you could break it down as a whole with all 6 halves together. And if you do that and you graded each player individually, there's no one we would give an A for the whole collective 6 halves. There is, if you broke the halves down, obviously yesterday you would say for 2 halves, you would give an A to Race Thompson. Beyond that, I don't know that you would grade anyone above average in any other half or as a collective group for the whole 6 halves. And that is if you analyze it that way, you get to the point where you realize, okay, well, they probably should have gotten blown out. I don't know about by 20. I mean, 20, I said it yesterday. When you beat somebody by 15 points, they're never in the game. Like, that's a wax job. And Indiana, like, I can just assure you, Texas is coming through this game going, Providence must suck, because that team was not very good. And Texas will be the first ones to tell you the start of the game, they didn't play very good either. And if they're
it's a
playing
very low scoring game to start.
If they're playing Gonzaga at the beginning of that game yesterday, they're down 20. They're down 20 in the first half. And you play a good offensive team, they would have blown Texas out in that game. And so it's not that Texas played that great. It's that Indiana played that bad. And I'm not saying that to be – look, I'm an IU fan. Please don't –
the whole point is not to be negative here, but we're going to be honest.
Please,
if you're not going to be honest, what are you doing?
For saying
you're not going to tell
what
the truth.
I
What are you
feel
doing
about this? Because they played that bad. Like, I'm trying to think of some games. I remember the Wisconsin game last year, the first Wisconsin game last year. I thought they looked this inept on the offensive end, and I feel it. That's about how bad I feel about this performance. I don't know where it's going to come from. I'm excited to see. They're going to play a good team tomorrow, whether it's North Carolina or Stanford tomorrow. They're going to play a good team. I'm excited to see something come out of this. I mean, I want to see them get better. I want to see them be a better team.
And again, you got to forget, it is early. There has not been the warm up games that they would normally have to get through this. I mean, they're doing this the hard way. I mean, you're going to be getting a Texas instead of playing the Tennessee Techs 5 times or 6 times. You got to play a Texas right off the bat, and this was not just a typical Texas team. Like I said, they were formidable. But
they were experienced, but they're not that good, Jim. I mean, they're okay. I'm
trying to be nice, man. I'm trying to throw some license on.
I know it, but I mean, that's not our job. I mean, I'm with you. I want to see, here's the great news. They play again tomorrow. All right. We don't have to wait a week to see them play again. They've got a chance to redeem themselves tomorrow. So you know what? Stick it in my eye and come out tomorrow and knock down a bunch of shots and move the ball offensively, get Trace involved, get Race involved, get Jerome Hunter involved, and have some guards step up and play. Like, here's what I don't want to see tomorrow, Jim. And you and I both know that I probably am going to see exactly this. Is I don't want to see that same starting lineup tomorrow. Well, actually, we won't, because there's no way Al Durham starts tomorrow.
Well, that's no way Al Durham plays tomorrow. Point. We're going to talk about him, because that could change everything. A team that doesn't look to be really, really deep right now, to be honestly, anyway, especially in the guard spot, you're taking away one of your veterans, possibly.
Well, I'm gonna ask you this, and I would ask the kid this straight up, and I know this is going to be unliked, and people are, their parents aren't going to like it. I get it, all that, but I would ask them this straight up. Do you think that Armaan Franklin has played well enough to start another game tomorrow? My answer is no. Do I think Rob Finney has? Yes. Would I like to see him with Christian Lander start? Yes. Would I like to add Trey Galloway to that? Yes, I would. I would take out Armaan, and I would, obviously, Al's not going to start tomorrow. That injury might be ugly.
His starting lineups have been goofy. Last year, he started Joey Brunk all the time and played for like 5 minutes.
And that's why I said I would like to see something different tomorrow, but I don't think I'm going to. I think he's going to be forced. I know he's going to be forced to, because Al's not going to be able to play tomorrow. Not a chance. We'll be lucky if we see Al again for the year. That injury looked awful. And so I'm speculating here, because I don't know anything anybody else doesn't, but your ankle doesn't turn that much without dislocating or something. So whatever. But we'll see a different lineup simply because of the injury. I hope we see it because of they need to change something up and get some stuff going. Armaan Franklin, I think he has the potential to be one of the better players on this team, he's not played well enough in the first 3 games to start a 4th game. I'm just calling it the way that it is. If the old coaches that we know were there, he wouldn't be starting 4 games. And I would say that to him. I would say that to his parents. Unfortunately, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm stating the facts. I want him to play better and start. But he hasn't played well enough to start.
Well, knowing now what we going forward, potentially down a guard, a veteran guard. We saw what happened today. Not sure who they're going to play yet tomorrow, but what is it going to have to change virtually almost overnight to be competitive against either of the teams they could possibly play tomorrow? North Carolina, we saw their size and how that could be ugly.
I'm going to give you the quick, easy answer. The lineup. What do they need to change? The lineup. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't necessarily expect it to happen, but I think some guys have got to come out. So to not be a smart aleck and expand on your question is guys have got to come out. Trey Galloway's got to play better. Okay. Trey Galloway's doing a lot of the little things. Look, Indiana doesn't need the little things. They need someone to score. I mean, I don't know how. The one thing this team needs is the one thing every kid loves to do. The one thing these guys were recruited for. I mean, they could all score. There's no one on this team that was recruited as a true point guard. Okay, Christian Lander needs the ball in his hands and needs to make a bunch of mistakes and shoot a bunch of bad shots because they're going to go in eventually. And I want to push it down the floor and chuck it up.
I hate to use this word, but I'm gonna. And it's only 2 games in, but Jerome Hunter has just been a gigantic disappointment. I mean, his production has been absolutely zero, and I thought this is going to be his year. He's recovered. He's got a year back out of that injury. He's a veteran, and it's not showing up in any way. I mean, usually you can at least see an intangible on the floor or something, and I'm not even seeing that. No, there's nothing. I'm just seeing nothing.
Yeah, and that's why I would say, to do something different, this is not Archie's MO. He's not shown that he likes to do this, but I would start Jerome tomorrow. I mean, you're right. He's not done a lot to earn it, but they've got to shake it up a little bit. They've got to do something different.
And maybe that does it for him. Maybe that's what it takes.
It might be. What did we talk about before? I mean, there were certain guys that just play better when they start. There's certain guys that just play better when they come off the bench. I would just try to find out what that is, because right now, you're right. We've not seen a ton out of Jerome, but I'm less disappointed in what I've seen out of Jerome, because I do think Jerome is an offensive-minded guy, which this team needs. So I would almost loosen the reins up on him a little bit and say, hey, you know what? Go ahead and jack some shots up. That's easy to say as the guy here who, doesn't get paid to be on the bench, and it's not my livelihood. I'm just a critic and a fan, just like everyone else is. But I mean, what they've done has not been working, and I don't see any other way. I'm saying I don't see it. They may see it. The coaching staff may have this grand plan that I don't know or understand, but right now, I don't see another way to do it. To answer your question, what do? I think they change the lineup, and I think they start going a little more helter-skelter. I don't need to finish a game with 9 turnovers anymore. If that's what's the result's going to be, I'll take 15 turnovers, and I need you to go up and down the floor and jack it up. Texas sure as heck didn't finish that game with 9 turnovers. They weren't worried about it being in single-digit turnovers. They had 25 turnovers yesterday. And they won both of these games. They probably had, I don't know how many they had, but they probably had 20-plus turnovers today. And they don't care. These guys are going out playing loose, playing the way they played in high school, playing the way they played in AAU, and they're comfortable. They look comfortable. And Indiana doesn't.
North Carolina's probably not who they're going to end up playing tomorrow, since they're in the losers bracket, and North Carolina is not. But if that were the case, that one could get ugly. Who's the other option?
Stanford.
That they would end up playing? Stanford. They're still a big team as well, though. I mean, Indiana's having trouble with teams with size right now.
Yeah, I mean, look, this was a domination like this. I'm hoping we look at this tomorrow and feel a lot different about it than we do right now, because we got to feel really good for 24 hours. You know, we got to feel real good about this team and the potential for this team. And now for 24 hours, we got to sit here and kind of wonder and hope that that was the anomaly. And that was the game that you know, sticks out later in the year and they go, "Ugh, can you believe how bad they played in that game?" But I mean, they're going to have to do some things tomorrow to prove us wrong. Look, all Indiana fans will say this right now: prove me wrong. I want to be wrong, but I want them to come out offensively and everybody play well offensively. I'm stating the way I feel about it and the way I see it, and I want them to prove me wrong. I want them to go out and score tons of points. I don't want to be right about saying we're inept on the offensive end of the court. That's so frustrating to watch.
There we go. It's got the face up there. So that game's at 1:30 tomorrow too. So I guess we get another 1:30 game. Man, not looking forward to that. Love it, but appreciate that, man. I appreciate everybody joining us here today. Can't wait till we're getting into the longer shows. Hopefully, this as the season goes on, the shows will get a little longer, and of course, we'll be together when we're not doing these day shows, these 1:30 shows. Another 1:30 show tomorrow. Golly, but if we were in Maui, it would be okay. As a matter of fact, I'd prefer it.
We prefer to be the early.
We're not in Maui, not even in Nashville with 2 E's, but. Man, I appreciate everybody taking the time to join us. Make sure stop in tomorrow with the Indiana Sports Beat. Jordan Halls will be on, and we'll talk more about this. And then tomorrow's upcoming game. And then, of course, we're back tomorrow when the game ends. We'll be back with you to see how that one goes. But make sure you tune in. And, man, Todd, it's just another day. It's a start to the season. But, man, they've got to get things turned around quickly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's fun to have this to talk about. Like I said, the best part of this is that they play again tomorrow. They've got an opportunity tomorrow to turn it around and be different. And that is so much better than having to sit on this for 4 or 5 days and practice after something like this. You know, they've as miserable as we're going to have it for 24 hours as fans to sit here. Believe me, they're going to go through that film enough that their misery is going to be worse than ours. So, you know, think about that side of it. I think about their side of it all the time, even though I feel like I seem super negative. But I mean, I want it to be better. I want to talk. I want to be excited and talk about how great everybody played.
It's a lot more fun to cover a winner.
Sure
Cover a winner. I promise you. Nobody wants to do this, but at the same time, if you want the cheerleading and all that stuff, you all know where you can find that stuff. This is we're going to give you the truth, man. But we appreciate everybody, and of course, the star of the show, Todd Leary. Appreciate him most of all. We'll be back tomorrow to do it again. So thanks a lot. Of course, everybody here at Yogi's. Don't forget, the sun's shining there. You can't see that one. Sun's coming in, but make sure you stop by Yogi's and check out everything there. But we'll be here tomorrow.
That glass was full earlier, wasn't it? Glass was full earlier.
Still full, man. Still full. It's the sun. It's the sun. Sun's doing that.
Got it.
But everybody go out and have a great day. Todd Leary, you have a safe rest of your day. We appreciate you. And for everybody else, Noah, thank you. I'm Jim Coyle. Until tomorrow, I'll see you on the radio. Make sure you wear your mask. Do something nice for somebody.